Knock, knock. Who's there? It's your favorite fly guy, Dante the Entertainer, back again, TME, new show, Who Put the Funny in Ha Ha. Travel around, interview some of the funniest, greatest comics across the globe. Today, I got the great pleasure of interviewing Nick Guerra, Last Comic Standing, new comedy tour, HBO special. It's gonna be bananas. Come on in, sit down on the couch, and pick his brain. How you doing, Nick?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Enjoying myself. Enjoying this chair.
That's a pretty chair. That is very pretty.
Yeah. This is the chair that you find in Storage Wars that's been sitting in a bin for like 20 years. And it's like, oh, this is worth something. You take it to Pawn Stars and they give you the history. They're like, Abraham Lincoln once sat in that chair. I'll give you $20 for it.
So what's going on, man? You are climbing the ladder, late night, and now you got an HBO special coming out. Getting ready for that?
Man, yeah, getting ready for the HBO half hour coming out. March 20th, Love Me at My Worst. Excited. I just want to see how people respond to it. By the way, we're both exhausted, guys. We're both
have not had our V8s.
Yeah, we're both staring at each other, slowly nodding off.
Trying to stay awake. Yeah. So yeah, you're climbing the ladder, man, and HBO special that everybody has their pinnacle point is.
Oh, I hope it's not my pinnacle point. Oh my God. I listened to another show where they talk about people in their apex of their careers and things like that. I hope this is not like this is it.
I'm gonna fall down from here.
It feels great, man. The dream I think as a comic was always to be involved with HBO. Having your comedy on HBO is a big plus.
If you're in a bad relationship, bring that out into public. Right? Let other people see that. We need you, right? That's the best, isn't it? That helps other relationships. Nothing's better than when you're out in public and you see a couple arguing and you're with your girl, you're just like, look. We're not that bad, are we? And that's where women just shine because they're like little spies. They'll find out what's wrong. They'll walk over like, hold on, give me a second. He was looking at another woman. Give me a second, I'm gonna find out.
So when did you decide you wanted to be a comic?
I don't even know.
Was there any pinpoint
the first
time?
time I got paid. That's really when you decide it, right? When did you decide? Like, did you know you wanted to be, or was it something that you happened upon and it just started happening to pay?
Personally, for myself, I knew I was funny around people, and I just knew that I wanted to take that funny and see it, because you can be funny around your friends.
Yeah.
But can you be funny on stage?
I knew I wanted to be on stage.
Okay.
I didn't know how. I thought I was going to be a battle rapper. That's what I thought. I was convinced of that.
Battle rapper, okay.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, I can do this. Not good at freestyling at all. And then comedy came about around about that way. I was drawing web comics, my own little web comic, and then putting that out there, trying to give off this, okay, I'm a writer now. Maybe I'm a writer. Maybe that's what I am. And then I found out about open mics. I was like, let me take these jokes on stage, and that's where it came from.
Nice.
So I just kept trying creatively to do something and happened upon stand-up.
And did you, I saw on one of your specials where you said that your two sisters got pregnant, so you were like, go and just be a comic.
Yeah, pretty much.
Did you get, because being in this...
I said that in a special? Oh, no.
Being in this entertainment world, it's something that family members tend to, bat an eyelash at or raise an eyebrow. Did you get a lot of family support, or was there...
I don't think... They weren't against it. They weren't 100% for it. My dad was a field worker that became a teacher. So for him, hard work was hard work. But he was hoping for the best. The minute that they officially were okay with my career was when I did a military tour and performed for the troops over like in Italy and stuff like that. And I think my parents saw that as, we were never able to do that, or we were never going to be able to do that for him. So this is a legit career.
And is that what drives you now?
Well, that was the immediate family support.
Okay.
The main family support came from appearing on Comedy Central. Then the main family was like, oh, he does this.
Okay.
And then The Tonight Show was what they could tell their friends, this is what he does, And so now the HBO is just capping all of that off.
you're just kind of just
yeah,
keeping
because
up the
each
ladder.
level
Yeah.
is you're basically vouching for the people that believed in you the first time. You know, like every time you do something, it's their way of going to the people they said, "I told you so," and that's what, you know. For me, that's why I keep going. I keep trying to prove myself so that I don't prove them wrong.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And as a minority comic myself, do you find that that's been up the step ladder that you're making now and starting in the smaller clubs and whatnot? Has that been an advantage for you?
No,
or
not at all.
disadvantage?
No,
or?
man, no, not at all. Come on, you know that.
I mean, everybody. For me personally, being a black comic, a lot of times I get into venues where they expect you to be funny just because you're black.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
So then there's like
and
this
they want
pressure.
you to be a certain type of
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And that's the problem, right? Well, since I'm considered a Latino comic, most people would avoid booking me because they thought I was going to go in there and be like, "What's up, Holmes?"
Yeah.
You know, they didn't realize, like, no, I've got an act. We're not all like that. And that's kind of what I am happy to be a part of this team, because they're pushing that. They're pushing against the stereotype. So we're doing full English specials that are on HBO Latino, but it's not stereotypical.
No.
It's finally like, no, some of us talk about our family, some of us talk about relationships, some of us talk, you know, about being in that migrant lifestyle. Some of us never had that, you know. But it is difficult. It's difficult convincing the industry, especially, that you're allowed to be different even when you're ethnic. You know, that these stereotypes aren't necessarily for all of us. I was raised on sitcoms, you know, American TV. I was brought up watching that stuff. You know, I read Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah.
I grew up watching X-Men, you know, Ghostbusters, things like that. And it's kind of weird for people who are not, you know, don't have friends that are ethnic or are not in those groups, to understand that we grow up with the same media and comedy as them. They think for some reason we only saw Three Amigos.
Yeah.
You know?
Only Sanford's Son. And,
Yeah. Like,
Eddie
you
Murphy.
must be a big fan of Menace to Society,
Yeah.
and that's the only thing you're allowed to watch. You know, not once they're like, did
Just
you see
In Living
Interstellar?
Color is it, you know.
Yeah, In Living Color was it. So it's just that. It's fighting that. And it's, look, and honestly, I mean, I don't know who watches this, and I don't know how much trouble I'm getting into this.
Why not?
But Hollywood is very racist, sexist, homophobic. They really are. And I don't mean it in a mean way. They're not like angry about it, but all of their conceptions of what is presentable falls along racist, sexist, homophobic lines. Okay, if we have a gay guy, he better be flamboyant. We can't have a soft-talking gay guy. He's got to be out there, right? We got a black dude. He better be the smooth-talking black dude, or the yes sir kind of. We're not gonna have him just be. Yeah, exactly. If he's Mexican, he better just be happy to be on TV, you know. And you see that a lot. A lot of the characters that are Latino are right. Hey, I'm just happy to be here, you know, and they get upset. But that's the only world they know. So it's definitely fighting that. And luckily with HBO, you know, they're taking a stand, you know, and Disney is the same way, where they're kind of like, we're going to present a different side of it, you know, and you need those major companies to kick in the door so that everybody else follows. Because, you know, like HBO is the one that, with Def Jam, kicked in this whole genre of like, here's a different type of black comedy, you know, and it took HBO kicking it in, saying, yeah, we'll take the chance.
Well, so
it's convincing them that it's not in Spanish. That's the problem.
Yeah. No, I get it. I totally get it. So climbing up the ladder where you're at now, let's talk jokes.
Okay.
So as you get further and further up the ladder and you get into these bigger venues and you're no longer doing the smaller venues, do you find it harder to come up with new material because you can't, it's not like you can necessarily always be in the smaller venues to test out the new stuff?
Well, I still do the smaller venues.
Oh, okay.
I'm not as big as you think I am, good sir. Thank you for thinking that.
You're bigger than me, so I'm just
Thank you. I don't know. You talked about Yuma. Like, yeah, I was there, and I know we both said we wouldn't do it again, but we would.
Well, you know, if the check clears.
Yeah, as long as I get a decent hotel. I'm still in that. I think I'm where you're at, where it's just we are good at our job. We know what we're doing. We're not necessarily a draw, but they know we know how to knock it out. So we're hired because we know how to do the job. And hopefully you get to the place where it's like, now they're hiring you because you're the name, you know? So the hardest part is telling your creative side, show them the funny right now. It's basically, I tell people, it's like you got to let them know you're funny so that they let you be funny. And that's basically it. When you're starting this career and all of the first appearances and all of the first times you're at a club, it's that proving ground. Let me prove that I'm funny, so you know I'm funny. And then hopefully the next time you see me, you actually let me be funny. You actually let me be myself.
Yes.
You know, which is another thing I was very happy about this whole HBO thing, because they didn't test any of our material. They didn't ask us what we're going to do. They literally were just like, go be funny. Like,
and that's
not one note. So it's like, okay,
weight off the chest.
I can do this. Yeah. But if it was like, let me check it, let me review it, let me process it, which happened with Last Comic Standing, things like that. They go over it, they read it on paper, which it's never funny on paper. No. Yeah. So it was nice to be like, okay, they're letting me perform. Like, this is going to be me. And I'm still in that place with clubs, because you can, as an ethnic comic, man, you only get so many doors open.
Yeah, this is true.
You know, and a club will try you out, and if you give them a reason not to use you, they'll take it, whatever the reason might be.
This is,
you know. So it's just that.
Yeah.
It's fighting that desire of like, I know the artist I am, I know the comic I am, but can I risk losing this gig forever by taking too many creative leaps because they don't trust me yet? And it takes about 7 times on a stage at a club for them to trust you. You know, where they're like, okay, he's fine. Like I tell people, the biggest compliment you can get from a comedy club is when the owner leaves and goes home. When he's like, all right, you guys look like you're doing good. I'm going to go spend time with the wife. And that's when you know you're in, because they're not worried. They don't care anymore. They're like, he knows how to do the show, so we can go home. You know, it's when they're there watching you that they're worried about you.
What is he going to say next?
What's he going to say? Is he going to lose them? Is he going to
offend them?
Then they get so extra critical, you know, and it's like they pick little things, and I'm like, you realize that this is the first time I'm interacting with this audience, your audience that you've set up. So yeah, it's not going to be perfect. Every
audience is different.
Yeah,
and I got banned from a circuit that I was in for a while for 2 weeks because she didn't like 2 of the jokes that I had. They killed on stage, but she personally didn't like them.
Yeah, and that happens too, man.
And so it's like...
Have you ever seen that Frank Zappa interview where he's talking about the old record execs?
I did, yeah.
So you know.
Yeah.
And that's how it feels. It's like it's so much better when the owners and the people, the curators are like, I don't get it, but it works.
But it works, yeah.
And I'm the money guy. And that's also the problem with show business, is that you have a lot of money people or salespeople who, because they think they're part of show business, think they have a creative side. And it's like, no, you're the salesperson.
Yeah. You're just the money guy.
All right? It's just like the car salesman doesn't go down to the Mercedes factory and walk around and tell them what he thinks they should be doing to the car. You know what I'm saying? And the guys that benefit the most or actually do well in this business are the ones that know they're part of the business. It's like, I'm not the creative. You're the creative. I'm the guy that's going to get you there. You know, and it's perfect for us because, like, good, because I don't know the business.
No, stay in your lane.
And I don't want to know the business.
Yeah.
I just want to be creative.
That's all we want to do.
What do you do for a living? You work in insurance. Look at that. Boom, right? Yeah, steady, boring. What? Do you want an exciting career? No. You don't want, look, ladies, you don't want your man to have an exciting career. Right? No, exactly. You don't want him to be like, oh, so great. Oh, I did awesome shit. You just want to be like, insurance, you're my favorite, baby. That's what it is. That's your exciting part of the day. Jen coming home early, just crunch numbers. And she's like, well, bring your digits over. talk, and then you're gonna be like, I'm not Geico, but I got a little lizard. Let's move on.
So when I've found this to be a little interesting in trying to get the ladder myself with the advancement in technology now in YouTube and all these different outlets that we have now. Because back in the day, you didn't have people recording shows and
no.
You would do a show and then you do a show later on in the week and you could rerun the same set. With now having, again, with YouTube and you had said on one of your shows that you record all your sets.
Yeah.
Does that make
Man,
it?
You guys really watch these clips, huh?
I personally do. I do my own work,
like,
and
hey, man.
With that, do you find it hard, easy, with everybody having access to your content, to come up with new stuff at that point?
Well, a lot of my content is that I actually release is either crowd work that's never going to exist again, or it is a joke that I wrote specifically for that moment and don't want to put in my regular set. So I have jokes that I'll do that weekend and that's it. Okay. And I had one joke that I did a Cholo proposal that I wrote driving to the show, and I was working out in my head on the drive to the Ice House, got to the show, talked about in the green room with a couple of comics that gave me 1 or 2 tags, performed it on stage, and never said it again.
And never did it again.
Yep, and I was like, I just filmed it, done, good, because it's not it's not part of my repertoire. Just something I thought was silly. I'm gonna do it once, and that's how it exists.
Do you think jokes die?
Yes.
How long do you think you should run a joke before you have to bury it?
It just depends on which joke. If it's very topical, it dies pretty quick. But so like Carlin, he wrote a bit. Like, have you ever read any of his books?
His earlier stuff, I haven't. Yeah.
So the best thing about Carlin was the first book, it would be like a sentence, an idea. Second book, that sentence would be a paragraph. Third book, it would be a chapter, and then it would eventually end up in the special. In 1982, he wrote down, "I kind of like it when a lot of people die." That was his line, right? And he worked on it, right? And then in 2000, he finally had a bit for it. Now you could see it in the books where it progresses from sentence to chapter to that. 2000, he had the bit for it. He's like, okay, I'm going to do an HBO special called I Like It When a Lot of People Die. I have the bit ready to go. I've been working on it since 82, you know. It's finally perfect. I'm going to call the special I Like It When a Lot of People Die. And then he says, and then 9/11 happened. So we changed the name to Complaints and Grievances, and I took that bit out, and I did it in 2004. So that's how long it took for him to finally release that bit. But it was not a topical bit. It was an idea, a big form. So that never died, obviously, until he filmed it and was done with it.
Yeah.
So it just depends, you know? I mean, yeah, there are some jokes it's like, that's it, I'm done with that. I used to have long hair. I don't do any more long hair jokes, you know?
Makes sense.
Yeah, and there's a point when it's like, okay, how much am I going to complain about dating and going to the clubs? I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't come off. You know, and I see guys that hang on to bits where they'll hang on to jokes about old rap songs that nobody fucking listens to anymore. I'm like, just let it go. Yeah. It's done. You know, it's okay. It's over. And there are those times. But sometimes history repeats itself.
And that's the thing. His style is coming back around.
And it just comes back up.
And so it's like, do I use this one again?
And it might come through. I mean, think about, okay, so a lot of people probably had a ton of OJ material back in the 90s, right? Then all of a sudden, kind of dies out. Then OJ releases If I Did It. There's a whole
opens
new,
the door, yeah.
Brings it right back. It's like, all right, now we can talk about it in full scope. Because now there's a cap to this.
Yeah, he opened the door for it.
I liken writing material to practicing different martial arts styles. And you have to try drunken style. You have to try, you know, Tai Chi. You have to try every style, jiu-jitsu, to see how the punchline comes out. And I think as long as you try your joke in 4 different ways, then you know how to perform it in so many ways, and you can always refine it to the punchline. It's the guys that stay static, like, this is the way it's written, this is the way it's done, that I feel suffer the most.
Black and white, no gray.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you watch other comics?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we all kind of do, but we don't watch it like people watch it. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, I can watch a comic, a few jokes, and get the entire set if I needed to.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's some where you're engaged, and you're like, I don't know where this is going. I like this. But definitely, I do still watch comics.
Now, I like to ask this question just because I've asked it a couple times to different comics, and again, you know, depending even on whatever level they're on, just because I'd like to get their take on it, because it was asked to me a couple years ago. What is your opinion on? You love this. People that go to classes to learn to be funny.
I think it's fine. In my mind, it's like, if that's the way you need the push, do it. You're not going to learn until you get on stage, but if that's what helps you, go for it. I'm not against classes. I actually was involved in teaching kids stand-up. You know, so like teaching them how to release their creative process, refining their thoughts and things like that. So I see the benefit of somebody having that structure. I think you have to have a right instructor who doesn't just stick you to, this is how it's supposed to be done, the end. These are my rules. But I'm not against it. I didn't do it.
I didn't either. That. No. Yeah, and that's why I
and I remember being a little bit against it at some point, because it felt like the guys that did that thought they were better than the comics that didn't.
Because they went to class. You know,
yeah, because they went to class and they learned this is how you deliver a joke, right? But what I've learned is, if they can't break from that structure and find their own voice, then it's just as much a hindrance to them. Whereas people that learn on stage, you learn your style and your voice a lot quicker.
Yep.
You know? But some people need that push. You know? I was like, all right, you need that push, fine. And some people need that to learn that they're not supposed to do this.
Yeah.
You know, go pay
real quick.
Yeah. Go pay that money and figure out. I took 3 classes of improv, UCB. Right? I'm a stand-up. I paid the money, $400 a class, right? 3 levels, did it. By the 3rd one, I was like, I never joined an improv jam. I don't go to these things unless I'm required to. Guess what? I'm not an improv guy. I'm a stand-up, and I just let it go. You know, looks good on the resume. Oh yeah, you took improv, but I'm not them. Yeah. And I was upset that I fell for it because I thought you needed to. And I'm like, but I'm happy I took the class because it was official.
You took something out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it was official. This is dead in the water.
Introspective.
Yeah. I can improv. I can play as me. I can't become a character. You can't look at me and be like, so you're a pope.
You can't play
I can play me as a pope. You know?
You can't play a pope?
Nah. It would be Nick as a pope. That's it. But that's what stand-ups are good at.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that people don't realize. Stand-ups, we're supposed to find our voice. We're supposed to be 100% who we are. That's why comics are the worst actors. Chris Rock cannot play anybody but Chris Rock. Carlin cannot play anybody but Carlin, right? There's very few comics that became great actors. Very few. But that's why you hire us. Bill Burr plays Bill Burr in everything. You know? You figure out our voice, and we do your character as us.
There's a difference between being funny on stage versus being funny in film.
Yes.
Because you've got other writers and...
Yes. Like Rodney Dangerfield thought he was bombing the entire time on, what was it, the golfing movie, Caddyshack.
Yeah.
Because nobody was laughing, but that's because they were all
just
actors. They're not supposed to.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, man, I'm dying out there. It's like, no, but he's used to that. But that's what you paid Rodney to do, go around the room and crack Rodney jokes, you know? So it does become kind of that, where you find out a lot about yourself and where you fit in this entertainment business. And I think stand-ups, we are paid to know who we are. We are paid to be as much of us as we possibly can be, because nobody else is allowed to. That's why actors are terrible interviewers. Like, if you've ever watched A-listers get interviewed, they're boring. Because they can't be anybody unless you tell them to be somebody.
Or what's written.
Yeah. They can't get out of their own head. They don't know what to say. They think their most greatest story is, I went to coffee and it took a long time. And of course you're intrigued because you're like, oh, that's Al Pacino talking about coffee, but it's not a great story.
It's just,
Yeah, they're awkward. You know, all the A-list actors are awkward. They're awkward on interviews because they can't be themselves.
It's not scripted for them.
Yeah.
I get it. So what's next?
I don't know, man.
What do you want to do? Do you have an ultimate goal?
I don't know, man.
What do you want to do after HBO?
Another
Do you have a dream venue?
Yeah, a dream venue? No, not at all. I tell people, I'm like, have the career you would love in your head. A career that I would love to have had, if I could, would be a Sandler type of career. To be able to be somebody that does his own projects with his friends and people just trust him. Now, that would be the ultimate career in my mind if I was part of Hollywood, entertainment Hollywood. As a stand-up, I would be happy to have Brian Regan, Joe Coy's, Gabriel's, Pablo's career. Like, I'd be very happy to be that. You know, and they're all in their own different levels of success. But so I think of it like I am going to be successful. I am going to enjoy this career. I'm going to do my job. People are going to laugh. Now, I don't know if it's going to be the type of fame that I can't walk down the street, but not necessarily that fame's not needed. Russell Peters could walk all over this plaza, and maybe one person will stop him. But he's very successful, you know? So then there's that debate, what's happy for you? And I think now fame is only good when you're in your 20s because you want to get into the club for free.
Yeah.
After that, you don't want to be bothered.
Remember those days.
Yeah. After that, it doesn't matter. You know? You just need a little bit of success or a little bit of fame to get a free meal, and you're fine. It's not like, oh, I got to be Chanel West Coast and get it in these clubs right now. It's like, nah, it's done. You know? So I'm past my 20s. I don't need fame. Fame would be great, but I don't need it.
Just want to be good at what you do.
I just want to be, you know what? This is my ultimate goal. I want, when someone says stand-up comedy, for my head to pop up. I want to be in that mix of when stand-up comedy is mentioned, there's certain people you think of, and I want to be in part of that group.
I respect that. Which leads me to my next one. Top 5.
Top 5 comics?
Top 5, in your opinion.
Ever?
Ever. Top 5 ever.
Oh, man, that's tough, man. Chris Rock, Chappelle.
Okay.
Leguizamo's the one that inspired me to get into it. Richard Jeni was somebody I was very impressed by. And where are we at now?
4. You're at 4.
That 5th one can go to so many of them.
Yeah.
There's so many. You know? That's tough. I mean, I said Rock, Chappelle, Richard Jeni, Leguizamo. That 5th one, man. Carlin.
Respectable list.
Yeah.
Respectable list.
Yeah, but then you really... Because then there's Pryor.
Yeah. See, I grew, with the genre
yours?
that I grew up under, and having access to only certain comics at the time. Yeah, it was Richard Pryor, Red Fox, Eddie Murphy, and then as I got older and gotten to see other comics perform that weren't black comics, because that was all I saw for the first X amount of years, and that's what I tried to originally adapt my style to was Pryor and Eddie Murphy and those people,
because it's what you knew.
It's what I knew.
When I first started, it was Paul Rodriguez, Cheech, and that's what I knew. So I did a lot of Latino material because that's all I saw. Yeah, and then I was like, oh wait, there's more.
There's more than just.
So who was it?
So I've got Eddie Murphy, Red Fox, Richard Pryor, Dave Chappelle, and then again that last one. It's like you don't want to disrespect everybody else.
No, man.
It's like who is number 5? I would have to say Carlin. Those would be my.
I mean,
my
Carlin.
5. Yeah.
Carlin was the quintessential stand-up. I remember hearing a story about a comic complaining about someone stole his joke, and the comic he complained to was like, "Go pick up a Carlin book and see how many premises he wrote out, and go cry." Guy literally wrote, "Dog noses are weird." But yeah, man. Yeah,
hey, thanks.
Thanks for having me.
I look forward to the special and everything else that comes after that. And it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Thank
It's
you for
always
having
fun
me.
to sit and talk with other comics and pick it up.